What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Tuesday, March 10th, 2026, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now it is 1400 Eastern Time here in the United States, and I wanted to update you guys on the latest situation with Iran. But before I get into that, I just wanted to show you some of the military flights over the United States right now. So we currently have a nuke sniffer plane airborne over Oklahoma, which is pretty unusual. And what's interesting is that it was looping near Colorado Springs, which is home of Cheyenne Mountain, the Doomsday Bunker. That's where Peterson Air Force Base is located at, home of NORAD. So we have a nuke sniffer plane doing loops over a Doomsday Bunker. It is now over Oklahoma City area. We also have a B-52 flying over Oklahoma City as well. And we also have two sub-hunters off the eastern seaboard of the United States. And we also have this recon drone here off of North Carolina. So we have a lot of sub-hunting and reconnaissance going on off the coast of the Carolinas and Delaware and Virginia. So this is very, very unusual. And we also have several U.S. aerial refuelers now taking off from Tel Aviv. This could be to refuel either returning Israeli and U.S. fighter jets from bombing runs over Iran, or they're getting ready to bomb Iran and they're fueling them up on their journey over. So we could potentially hear about massive attacks on Iran in the coming hours. And the U.S. has intercepted encrypted communications believed to have originated in Iran that may serve as an operational trigger for sleeper assets outside of Iran, according to a federal government alert sent to law enforcement agencies. The alert, reviewed by ABC News, cites preliminary signals analysis of a transmission likely of Iranian origin that was relayed across multiple countries shortly after the death of Ayatollah Khamenei. The intercepted transmission was encoded and appeared to be destined for clandestine recipients who possess the encryption key, the kind of message intended to impart instructions to covert operatives or sleeper assets without the use of the internet or cellular networks. It's possible the transmissions could be intended to activate or provide instructions to pre-positioned sleeper assets operating outside the originating country, the alert said. While the exact content of these transmissions cannot be currently determined, the sudden appearance of a new station with international read broadcast characteristics warrants heightened situational awareness, the alert said. While the alert is careful to say there is no operational threat tied to a specific location, it does instruct law enforcement agencies to increase their monitoring of suspicious radio activity. Wow, okay, so an international broadcast to sleeper cells, Iranian sleeper cells, after the Ayatollah Khamenei died, and it's serious enough that the federal government sent out an alert to all local law enforcement agencies. That is a huge news. And Israeli Channel 12 is reporting that Tehran's nuclear laboratories were targeted in airstrikes yesterday. And the Washington Post said that the Pentagon may request additional funding from Congress for the war this week. The Washington Post also reported that the military consumed ammunition worth $5.6 billion in just the first 2 days of the war. And European countries are now considering launching a naval mission to secure navigation in the Strait of Hormuz. And the leader of the IRGC said that Iran is ready for years of war with America. And the Qatari Defense Ministry said that yesterday an attack was repelled involving 17 ballistic missiles and 6 Iranian drones. And the president of France, Emmanuel Macron, signaled his willingness to help escort commercial vessels through the Strait of Hormuz during his visit to the Charles de Gaulle aircraft carrier strike group, which has recently been deployed to Cyprus. So this is huge news. Okay, Macron is deploying an aircraft carrier strike group, and the UK is also deploying their aircraft carrier strike group, and the US is sending a third aircraft carrier to the region. So altogether, we're going to have 5 NATO aircraft carriers in the Middle East. Okay, that is huge news. And Trump commented about Iran yesterday. He said that the regime was trying to reconstitute its weapons program at a different site. He also said they never negotiated in good faith. They still continued to say, we want to build nuclear, we want enrichment at levels that were unacceptable. And JetBlue flights have been put on a ground stop per the FAA, supposedly due to an IT issue. But I'm also hearing that it could be a national security issue as well. And a senior Iranian source told CNN, we hold the screws of the global oil price in our hands. For a long time, the U.S. will have to wait for our actions to control the price. Energy markets are unstable, and we will continue to fight until Trump declares defeat. Wow. And before I continue with the breaking news, I wanted to mention the sponsor for this update, which is Matt Hat Jerky. Guys, if you're a beef jerky lover like myself, you got to try Matt Hat Jerky. This is the best beef jerky I've ever had. I personally met the owner of this company at SHOT Show, and he's actually local to Pennsylvania. This company has an interesting story behind it. He founded this company when he was 11 years old. Yeah, that's right, 11 years old. He's now 19, and he makes gourmet beef jerky, the best jerky I've ever had. He's got over a dozen different flavors, and it's all sourced with U.S. beef, so no foreign beef, no nitrates, and no MSG. So it's all natural American beef jerky. And if you use my promo code NYPrepper, you can get 15% off your entire order. And you got to go to matthatjerky.com, and I'm going to leave a link in the description down below. That's matthatjerky.com, one word, matthatjerky.com. Use my promo code NYPrepper to get 15% off your entire order, and the link and the promo code are in the description down below. And U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iran are being accelerated by military AI systems that help gather intelligence, select targets, plan bombing missions, and rapidly assess battle damage. So AI is being used heavily. And Bahrain's Interior Ministry says one person was killed and several others injured after an Iranian attack hit a residential building in Manama, the capital of Bahrain. So Iran has really been hitting Bahrain very hard for some reason. Trump also said yesterday this will be over when Iran has no capacity of weaponry against the U.S., Israel, or our allies for a very long time. And there were reports yesterday of a widespread wave of strikes on Tehran and Karaj, with additional strikes reported in Isfahan, which is home of one of the Iranian nuclear sites, and Tabriz. Widespread power outages have been reported in Tehran. And the Australian Prime Minister says Australia will deploy aircraft to the Middle East to help protect and defend civilians. And Trump said that ships are currently moving through the Strait of Hormuz, but says he is thinking about taking it over. He warned Iran they've shot everything they have to shoot, and they better not try anything cute, or it's going to be the end of that country. Wow. And Trump has been informally polling allies and donors about a potential 2028 Republican successor, asking whether they prefer Vice President Vance or Secretary of State Rubio. Interesting. And the Wall Street Journal reported over the weekend that Trump's advisors are urging him to find an exit from the war with Iran, fearing violent political reactions in the upcoming midterm elections. And the Pentagon is now drawing from its stockpiles of Patriot missiles to fight against Iran from Asia. So they're using Patriot air defense missiles from Asia. They're bringing them in from Japan, South Korea, etc., because they don't have enough. And the Kuwait National Guard has announced that it successfully intercepted and downed 6 one-way attack drones with its area of responsibility in the state of Kuwait yesterday. And Western Iran was subjected to heavy airstrikes yesterday. And according to a release from the United Arab Emirates, during the drone attack last night in Erbil, the UAE's consulate general was targeted. Only material damage and no injuries were reported. And U.S. President Trump stated that there may be a friendly takeover of Cuba, and he said there may not be a friendly takeover of Cuba. So very interesting. Trump is setting his sights on Cuba now. Trump said also that due to the current state of Iran's armed forces, they could declare the war a success now or go further. He added that we're going to go further, okay? So Trump is making it clear that this is not some small operation that's going to be over anytime soon, okay? From what I'm hearing, the Israelis are preparing for at least 5 more weeks of war. So this is going to linger on for a while. And also, from what I've been hearing, is that Trump is considering sending in ground forces, that they haven't ruled out sending in ground forces, boots on the ground, to secure the nuclear sites, to secure those missile bunkers, which they haven't really taken care of yet. Okay, they have bombed a lot of targets, but the most threatening targets are those bunkers underneath 10,000-foot mountains, okay, that have nuclear warheads, nuclear enrichment, ballistic missiles that can reach Europe. Okay, that's really the prize, and Trump wants that prize, and he's considering sending in ground forces, okay? And Trump and Putin had a phone call yesterday, and after that phone call, Putin called the Iranian president, and the U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said this morning that March 10th would have been the most intense day of the war against Iran so far, with more fighter jets and bombers involved than on any previous day of strikes. Wow. Okay, so today is the most intense day of the campaign so far. He also said that Iran made a big mistake by targeting its neighbors, warning that any attempt to disrupt oil flows through the Strait of Hormuz would draw far heavier military retaliation from the United States. And the U.S. military was striking Iran's mine-laying vessels, according to General Dan Kane, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He said that this morning, so that's very interesting. And so those are basically sea mines, okay? They can put mines in the water, and that would be a big problem for the U.S. Navy operating in the Strait of Hormuz. They can't have Iran mining the Strait of Hormuz, because then we can't put our Navy in there to protect the commercial vessels going through, and it would also sink commercial vessels as well. And the top U.S. general added that the U.S. was reviewing a range of options if tasked with escorting ships through the Strait of Hormuz. And a fire broke out at Abu Dhabi's Ruwais industrial complex this morning after a drone attack, the UAE government media office said, adding that no injuries were reported at the site, which houses Abu Dhabi National Oil Company facilities. The biggest oil refinery at Ruwais halted operations after the drone strike, according to Bloomberg, citing people familiar with the matter. So Iran is going after these oil facilities, guys. The question is, will they have enough firepower to do some serious damage to those oil refineries that supply much of the world's oil? And explosions were heard again in Karaj in Iran, on the outskirts of Tehran on Tuesday, as a resident filming the scene is heard screaming, "U.S. President Trump, we trust you. Keep going until this regime is overthrown." So the Iranian people want their freedom, guys. Okay, most Iranian people do not like the Ayatollah Khamenei. And Iran's Air Force says it launched suicide drone attacks targeting fuel tanks in Haifa, Israel last night in response to recent attacks on Iranian oil depots. And by the way, Israel struck 30 fuel depots in Iran over the weekend, and apparently that really pissed off the Trump administration. And Iran's intelligence ministry said it had identified and arrested 30 people it accused of spying for the United States and Israel. And the German Chancellor Friedrich Merz said on Tuesday that a dangerous escalation was underway in the Iran war, voicing concern over lack of a joint plan to bring it to a swift end. He said, quote, "We are particularly concerned that there is clearly no joint plan for bringing this war to a swift and convincing end," Merz said at a press conference in Berlin. "We have no interest in a war without end. We have no interest in the dissolution of territorial integrity." Interesting. And fresh assessments by the Israeli military say roughly half of the Iranian ballistic missiles Iran has fired at Israel during the war were equipped with cluster munition warheads. The warheads dispersed dozens of small explosives in midair, scattering submunitions containing several kilograms of explosives across a wide area of up to 10 kilometers, the IDF said. Wow, and we've seen a lot of footage of those cluster munitions being, intercepted over Israel. And the Netherlands has confirmed their intention to send a frigate to Cyprus. And the Israeli army announced the conclusion of a powerful wave of attacks on Iranian production facilities, during which dozens of aircraft dropped more than 170 bombs. And Iran is prepared for a long war with the United States, and the only way to end it is through mounting economic pressure that will force the U.S. to end the intervention, said Kamal Chazari, the foreign policy advisor to the Iranian supreme leader. Wow. And the head of the IRGC said Iran will increase the strength, frequency, and scope of missile attacks. Okay, so they're just getting started. Iran is just getting started. The U.S. is just getting started. This war is just in the beginning phases, guys. So make sure you're getting prepared. This could potentially spiral out of control and get Russia and China involved. My biggest concern is that Russia and China are going to feel very insecure now after we've changed the regime in Venezuela, changed the regime in Iran, and then we're going to change the regime in Cuba, which Cuba has always been a Russian ally for a very long time. Russia has military equipment there, spy stations there. No way in hell is Russia just going to allow us to take over Cuba, but it looks like Trump is going to do that. And so then, Russia may say, well, the U.S. is doing all these things. They're going to Venezuela, Cuba, Iran. So that means we're going to go into the Baltics. We're going to push deeper into Ukraine. We're going to attack Europe. Or, China may say, well, now it's time for us to go after Taiwan. If the U.S. is doing all this stuff, maybe we can do it too. So I'm very concerned about that. I don't think this is going to be a quick and easy war. I think this is going to get very complicated. And we're already seeing NATO forces heavily getting involved. We have 2 aircraft carriers from Europe moving in, a 3rd U.S. aircraft carrier. And we also have a NATO Patriot system that was just deployed in Turkey, and a lot of NATO forces are now getting involved in this war because they see the connection between Iran and Russia. Okay, Iran supplies drones to Russia for the Ukraine war. They do a lot of technology transfer, so it's in the Europeans' interest to help the U.S. in this endeavor. A spokesman for the IRGC responded to Trump saying, if the U.S. and Israel continue their attacks, we will not allow oil to be exported from the region. We will determine the end of the war. Security in the Middle East must be for everyone, or no one will enjoy security. Wow. And the Speaker of the Iranian parliament said, quote, we do not seek a ceasefire, and we believe it is necessary to deliver a harsh lesson to the aggressor so that it will not attack us again. Wow. And Trump responded to the IRGC threats to close the Strait of Hormuz, saying if Iran stops the flow of oil through the Strait of Hormuz, we will bring upon them death, fire, and fury. Wow. And in the British Fairford base, that's the British Air Force, 11 American strategic bombers have been deployed, 8 B-1s and 3 B-52s. Wow. And the Turkish Defense Ministry announced the deployment of a Patriot system in the Malatya province as part of NATO air defenses. And remember, a week ago, NATO had to shoot down a missile that was flying towards Turkey. Okay, so Iran is attacking everybody. And Aramco, the major oil company in Saudi Arabia, said that they will work to operate the east-west pipeline at full capacity within 2 days. So Aramco is trying to work around this whole situation. They're increasing their output. They're trying to divert oil flows. They're setting up contingency plans. So that's good news for now. The oil prices have dropped down to $80 a barrel now. They were up to over $116 a barrel Sunday night into Monday morning. So that is good news. But fuel prices have skyrocketed already here in the U.S. And the G7 energy ministers will have a meeting tonight to talk about the possibility of using strategic oil reserves. And Berlin has decided to temporarily withdraw its diplomatic staff from the embassy in Iraq. And the UAE has requested South Korea to accelerate the delivery of Chang'e air defense batteries. So a lot of these Gulf states, Persian Gulf states, they're running out of air defense missiles, guys. And then you have the drones. The drones are the scariest thing because those drones are hard to detect. Traditional air defense systems are not tuned to shoot down drones. They're tuned to shoot down ballistic missiles and cruise missiles, traditional aircraft, not slow and low-flying drones, okay, that are like, 50 feet above treetops, okay? And the Dutch Intelligence and Security Service and the Netherlands Military Intelligence and Security Service have reported that hackers supported by Russia have launched a global cyber campaign to gain access to Signal and WhatsApp accounts used by government officials, military personnel, and journalists. Wow. And Macron visited the Charles de Gaulle aircraft carrier being deployed to the Middle East. He sang the national anthem of France with the servicemen in the aircraft carrier. So guys, that is big news. When you have the leader of a country landing on the deck of an aircraft carrier being deployed and singing the national anthem, okay, you don't do that for a routine training mission. You don't do that for any kind of routine situation, okay? He's probably thinking that this is going to escalate, and they wouldn't be deploying a whole French aircraft carrier to the region for no reason, okay? And according to CBS News, the U.S. lost 3 MQ-9 Reaper drones so far during the war in Iran. And British Airways announced this morning that they will ground all flights to Abu Dhabi in the UAE until later this year. Wow, that is huge news. And Poland has been evacuating Polish citizens from the Middle East using Polish VIP planes. So isn't that cool when you have your government sending their best planes designated for VIPs to come get you out of Dodge, okay, get you out of the situation. And the Mexican president, Claudia Sheinbaum, stated that her country is eager to collaborate with the U.S. on various fronts, but will not accept the presence of American troops on its territory. This is a response to the offer from U.S. President Trump regarding a joint fight against cartels. So she doesn't want U.S. troops there in Mexico to fight the cartels. And the next round of U.S., Ukraine, Russia talks could take place next week, according to President Zelensky of Ukraine. The meeting proposed by the U.S. may be hosted in Turkey or Switzerland and focus on prisoner exchanges and preparations for a leaders' meeting. And we have some urgent breaking news coming in from Ukraine and Russia this morning. Ukrainian cruise missiles hit Russia's Bryansk region, reportedly targeting the Kremeny microelectrics plant, so some kind of electronics facility. The strike was carried out by either a Storm Shadow or Scalp missile. Okay, so that's what they're saying, that these were European missiles used to strike a Russian microelectronics plant. And Kim Yo-jong, the sister of Kim Jong-un, issued a statement today condemning the joint U.S. and South Korean drills being conducted, saying the exercise was a large-scale war rehearsal directed against North Korea. So North Korea is getting very insecure as well. They feel like they're on the chopping block. But that's the latest breaking news that I have. I will be back later on tonight with a live update. Also, tomorrow I'm going to be doing a show with Cliff Kincaid on the USA Survival channel. Cliff Kincaid, USA Survival. His website is usasurvival.org. I will be doing an interview with him, so check that out. That's going to be, I don't know when he's going to release it, probably sometime tomorrow afternoon. But until later on, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere. And this update was sponsored by EMP Shield. Guys, EMP Shield has created a special discount just for you, the listeners of the NYPrepper channel. If you go to empshield.com and use the promo code NYPrepper, you can get 15% off your entire order. And why do you need an EMP Shield? Well, this is a special device to protect your vehicle, your RV, your solar generators, your radios from an electromagnetic pulse, which could be caused by a solar flare or potentially a rogue country like North Korea detonating an electromagnetic pulse weapon over the United States that's mounted onto a satellite. So protect your vehicles, protect your RV, protect your radios, protect your generators with an EMP Shield. Use my promo code NYPrepper to get 15% off. Installation is super simple. This is a veteran-owned business, 100% American-made, and the EMP Shields have been tested by the military, okay? And free shipping is included to the entire continental United States. And the link and the promo code are in the description below this video.